My friends, it's 2020, and what a time to be alive. And as the year and speedrunning carry on forward, we know the big stories of $10,000 bounties in Super Mario 64, and new strategies being developed in Ocarina of Time, and epic records in Super Mario Bros. I thought, why don't we take one last look back into 2019 and share some untold speedrunning stories that you might have missed last year. These are all going to be really cool speedrunning moments, records, and developments that you probably never heard much about, just off the trodden path, but speedrun moments that I'm happy to spotlight and share with you today. So here we go.
Here we go!
One of the craziest achievements in all of 2019 was this remarkable feat by Portal 2 speedrunner Zype. You see, Portal 2 solo mode is structured through 9 chapters, which consist of 60 total chambers, or single levels. Basically puzzle rooms the player has to solve to move on. 60 chambers make for great single-level speedrun competition, with speedrunners trying to lower their times and set records on each of the stages. Well, wouldn't you know it, but Zype actually went out there and got the world record on all 60 of these chambers in Portal 2, a truly remarkable achievement. Holding all of these single-level records in any game is just insane, especially one as competitive and with as many levels as Portal 2. One of the final chambers Zype took the record on to complete this quest was this one, Laser vs. Turret. Briefly, this strategy involves getting Quantum Crouch, a state where your character model is crouched, but your view is as if you were standing, and this allows you to shoot a portal out of bounds. So you get into Quantum Crouch, fling up to a spot in the ceiling, shoot a portal out of bounds, fall down and fling out of the out of bounds portal, where you can then shoot a portal underneath the end door, and that's only the half of it. Then you have to use all sorts of trickery for the game to think you're back in bounds right at the ending flag, and do all that in a mere 18 seconds. Yeah, these Portal 2 chamber records are absolutely insane, with absurdly precise movement and shooting combined in symphony. Zype completed his quest to get all 60 records in August 2019. However, only a couple of days later, one of the records was taken from him after Rex beat his time on Ricochet by about 0.25 seconds. Rex spent about 50 hours grinding for tenths of seconds improvements on the 16-second stage. A reminder of just how fleeting speedrunning glory can be. All that work and incredible gameplay for only a few days worth of 60 out of 60 world record perfection. Generally, no record or achievement in speedrunning will last forever, so that's usually not the driving motivation of speedrunners. It's more about enjoying the moment of glory in achieving your long-sought goal. And that moment, no matter how brief, when Zype completed 60 out of 60 world records in Portal 2 chambers, was truly remarkable. Today he holds 51 out of the 60 records, which is still pretty insane dominance in the game, though we're likely to see the records improve and record holders shift around a good deal as we reach further into 2020. Here's a cool story. Initial D is a beloved Japanese manga about delivering tofu and drift racing in a 1983 Toyota Sprinter Terreno GT Apex AE86. So naturally, there are a series of racing games which have spawned from the franchise, one of which is called Initial D Extreme Stage for PlayStation 3. The game has 7 courses with 4 variations on each, 2 variations in dry weather and 2 in wet weather, giving it a healthy 28-stage individual level leaderboard. Just like real racing, this speed game is incredibly international, with Russian driver Big V10 and Qatari driver Solid Snake dominating the rankings. Solid Snake held a sweep on all the 14 dry courses in the game. However, this year, American driver Morbid Florist did some damage to the Initial D Extreme Stage leaderboards. In October, he became the first person to beat the Qatari Solid Snake on a dry course, doing so on Hapogahara Option 1. Morbid Florist would later sweep the entire Hapogahara stage and get a number of other records in the game, creating an incredibly competitive grid on the single stage leaderboard. The times on all these courses are super close, so competition is sure to heat up in 2020 as drivers push to improve millisecond by millisecond. Awesome stuff, drivers. Keep up the good work. Metal Gear Solid is a defining title on 90s era PlayStation and helped to shape the landscape of 3D stealth games. One particularly competitive aspect of this speed game are these mostly short single stages, which in the universe of Metal Gear Solid take place as virtual reality training missions. A whole whack of 300 of these missions were released in 1999, in Japan as an expanded game called Integrals, and in North America as a standalone game called Metal Gear Solid VR Missions. After 20 years, and given that many of these missions are under 10 seconds long, it's understandable that many of these stages were considered completely maxed. Like the first stage, Sneaking Mode, No Weapon, 01, where the record stood at 3.51 seconds, since 1999. This screenshot is from the Konami website recognizing this record back then. Pretty amazing to see some sort of developer-approved official speed record keeping from that time. Incredibly, earlier this year, a speedrunner, Philosopher, was able to lower this by 1 frame to 3.48 seconds, matching the tool-assisted speedrun time. But the story doesn't end there. You see, one of the game's mechanics involves shifting Solid Snake's body weight, or center of gravity, basically leaning, to avoid guard fire and stealthily peer down hallways or lanes. Now, as it turns out, when you lean, the game recognizes Snake's position as being in the leaned position as opposed to where he's truly standing. This has a remarkable effect on the final frames of these VR mission single stages. Many of these stages have this little ending circle, which is where your position needs to be for the game to acknowledge you've gotten to the end of the mission. As it turns out, if you go from the third-person view to the first-person view and do the lean with just the right timing, you can get into the end circle of the mission faster than you previously could. D-Limes used and refined this technique to lower the 3.48 second time on Sneaking Mode No Weapon 01 to 3.37 seconds, a truly remarkable speedrun. This record has since been lowered to 3.31 by Platonic Guy, cutting 0.17 seconds off the previously maxed tool-assisted tied record, and it's believed this technique could save up to 0.25 seconds. Even more amazing is that it seems as though this technique will be useful on not just Sneaking Mode No Weapon 01, but on most missions with the end goal circle, up to about 100 of the game's 300 missions. So tons of these records are sure to keep falling through 2020. A truly remarkable strategy development which shows you that in some cases, no matter how optimized or maxed you think a speed game might be, even on a 3-second level, you never know what improvements might be found. There's a great video which explains this discovery and its consequences in more detail by Plywood, so have a look at that if you're interested in learning more about Metal Gear Solid virtual reality mission speedrunning. Awesome stuff all around, speedrunners. It's always nice to give some shoutouts to new, up-and-coming, or lesser-known speedrunners, so here are some quick viewer submissions. Infinite Synchron, a Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy runner, got this time 36.68 seconds on Under Pressure, one of the game's 80 or so individual stages. The first and so far only sub 37 second run on that course. This game seems like it has potential to have some pretty epic competition given there are so many single levels and such a variety of record holders spread across the various stages. We'll see if competition heats up in 2020. Way to go, Infinite Synchron. Brian PSO broke a 15-year-old record in Sonic Adventure 2 Iron Gate Mission 1 Ring Attack mode, where he managed to collect 178 rings. You can get bonus rings from various checkpoints on each stage, but only if you already have a certain number of rings. The first checkpoint would never give the bonus since you couldn't possibly have enough rings to activate it. However, Brian made use of this technique later in the stage, after collecting more rings, where you can gain a bunch of speed, allowing you to climb backwards up this incredibly steep wall.
Yes!
Backtracking through the course to the first checkpoint. Now you're rewarded with the checkpoint ring bonus, which gave him enough to break a previously thought to be maxed record which stood since 2004. Amazing stuff, Brian.
Easy caralho.
Boa.
Ah.
Here's a cool record, and one I'm honestly surprised isn't completely broken yet. In March 2019, the Irish Bub got this record, 1 minute 14 seconds .21 in Breath of the Wild's Sand Seal Racing. It's stood as the record since then, which is kind of surprising, given how full of trickery a lot of these other individual level type races have become since the game's release. I wonder if in due time these sorts of crazy bullet time bounce tricks will be incorporated into the Sand Seal race, or if they're simply not viable since you do have to pass under all these arches and, hold onto your Sand Seal. In any manner, awesome stuff by the Irish Bub, and congratulations on the great run. This is Papa Pickett. He's been speedrunning Diablo III in the any % console new game category with the Monk class character, and had been trying to beat a record set by the Laughing Max, which had stood for nearly 2 years. Finally, on December 30th, 2019, he finished this speedrun.
Because I want my kid here. Because every time before I stream, I ask her to tell me that she believes in me and that I can do it. I got the record.
This isn't the most competitive speed game or category, but you can just feel Papa Pickett's sense of accomplishment and pride in finally reaching a long-sought goal. The reaction is just super wholesome and really made me smile. So there you have it. Awesome stuff, Papa Pickett. Way to go. And finally, we have this story that took place over 2019 and continues to develop as we begin to wade into 2020. Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg. Have you ever heard of this game? Well, I hadn't until this remarkable series of events took place in its speedrun over 2019. It was a pretty quiet game with only some mild competition over the last few years, with the record standing at 109.24 by British speedrunner Squid, a time set in December 2016, and a time that would stand through 2017 and 2018. ZeldaFan01 beat this time by 1 second in January 2019, but the following months would see a drastic evolution in the game's speedrun. You see, while the record speedruns were pretty decent, lower was certainly possible, especially with a certain trick, which was widely known about, but considered a little too daunting to pull off. It's a pretty conventional trick. If you're right against a wall while holding an egg, and then take damage, you can clip through the wall, saving some decent time at numerous points in the game. This is called a knockback clip, and throughout 2019, incorporating knockback clips in a full game run went from unthinkably challenging to, well, there's this one that we might be able to do.
Alright, here we're gonna go for what's called a knockback clip. Come here. Dang it. don't know. There we go. That's what we were going for.
And this went all the way to a later marathon run where Cosmic hit 7 of these in the same run. And yes, this is the same Cosmic of Super Mario Bros. Fame, who just set a remarkable new world record there.
Yes, dude! Yes! I did it! Holy cow, I almost knocked my chair over.
These clips can be pretty tough though, since they often depend on rudimentary GameCube enemy AI to be predictable or reliable enough to be in just the right spot to give you some damage and clip through the wall. So it's understandable that for a long time, runners weren't willing to go for it. But once one player shows a harder strategy to be doable, the mental barrier breaks, and a number of runners push the game lower and lower using more skips and new strategy innovations, ultimately resulting in Cosmic setting a new world record of 108.16 in December 2019, more than a minute cut off the record to begin the year. The run still had some substantial time losses though, so 107 and even 106 are indeed possible. In fact, Cosmic commented on his world record that he would continue playing for 107 and then go back to Super Mario Bros. But the 107 was just too tough. So Billy Hatcher 107 confirmed harder than Super Mario Bros. 455.646? Okay, just kidding, but the 107 is still out there for the taking. In mid-January 2020, another runner, Kyrone, lowered the Billy Hatcher record to 108.07, so improvements continue to roll in. But there's still a lot of time to be squeezed out of this game. I only started looking into this game for this video, but it actually seems like a really cool GameCube era platformer, and it's always epic to watch great speedrunners race towards optimizing new records. If there's one speed game I'd suggest looking out for in 2020, it'd be Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg. Awesome stuff, speedrunners. So there you have it, some untold speedrunning stories you might have missed from 2019. And with that, I think it's full steam ahead into 2020. So if you enjoy speedrunning content and stories like these, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I have a bunch of really epic videos in the works, and who knows what stories are waiting to be told this year. Thanks for watching, stay true, and I'll see you in the next stream or video.